Welcome back, everybody. It's been kind of a frustrating day, doing a lot of work, but not a lot yielding in terms of what has to happen in terms of exposure and coverage of the story that I talked about last week with Jim and Josephine concerning the fake news featured by Rachel Maddow on her program, The Rachel Maddow Show. She basically took the account of a person who claimed to be a Facebook administrator and nobody else believes he was, and said, well, that this is kind of evidence of Russian collusion to, overthrow the election, or I don't know what, hack the election. They hacked the election. Oh my God, the world is coming down. Look, if you guys want to be rid of this faster, you have to help me share the story and all of that, everything that you need in order to help promote this goal and bring it forward is contained in the articles that I already have on the Hard News Network. Big ups to the Hard News Network, by the way, for hosting this content. Look, let's talk about from the beginning. Although we're not going to be able to go in depth yet, probably a little later tonight. I'll try to do a longer stream, maybe talk to Anthony Logan about it, and talk about exactly who this person is. John Mattis is a former Madison, Wisconsin city councilman, a former county supervisor for Dane County, Wisconsin, and he's a longtime progressive or liberal activist, whatever you want to call it. And he's a committed supporter of the Democratic Party to this day. He just goes to these Democratic clubs. He tells this story of him discovering in September 2016 the hacking of the election by Russia or by Albanians or Macedonians. Now, Mattis, he's a lawyer, he's an activist, he's an investigative reporter. A little bit about his history, like I said, Board of Aldermen, Madison, Wisconsin, Board of Supervisors, went to Miami Law School, University of Miami, sorry. I know there's a Miami of Ohio. So University of Miami, graduated in 1984, passed the Florida bar in 1985. I don't know whether he's a quality attorney or not. What we have to get out there. T. Hamilton, thanks for tuning in. I've been looking at your comments. What we have to get out there is the fact, and this is important. You have to spread to whoever you know who can share with the media. The alternative media, of course, not Stephanopoulos, not Clintonopolis. You have to share with people who will publish a story. That means Daily Caller. That means Drudge. That means whoever you know is looking to expose what Rachel Maddow has been doing and what Politico, and by the way, by the Huffington Post and TYT, quote-unquote progressive outlets, sharing crap that makes Bernie Sanders supporters look like they basically bought fake news propaganda from Macedonia. If you're not sharing it, then it really might never go anywhere. And that's really, it'll be a shame. These people, they were willing to offer their experiences and the problems that have been caused by this fake news writer, John Mattis. So we're not going to go through the whole thing, but you can read it because it is in the description, and there's plenty to talk about. And it's called the Mattis File. And I made this special image concerning Ryan Grimm, who was with a certain network, and he says, he's using the the research, if you can even call it that, of John Mattis as a basis for his report. But remember, this is a guy, he was a lawyer in Miami during the Iran-Contra scandal. He was a public defender at the time for a Miami area gun runner named Jesus Garcia. And based on that, he makes a lot of, claims about having exposed Iran-Contra. Could be true. Could be true. I'm not going to say this guy never accomplished anything. I'm just saying that what he's doing right now does not have anything to do with that. Another thing he did was expose apparently, Vietnam era POW scandal involving the CIA, South Vietnamese soldiers. So I'm not saying that he never ever did anything good. It's very possible he did, and if he did, he deserves credit for that. But he's not doing something good now. His LinkedIn page, it omits any mention of his work with ABC News, and only lists XETV Channel 6, which is from Tijuana in Mexico, for those of you that are sensitive to that pronunciations, and he also, I don't think he even mentioned his work with Fox 6 San Diego on his page. Could it be for a specific reason? I don't know. That's not up for me to say. I can only deal with the facts that I found. But there are a lot of facts, and a lot of the facts are first of all, you can find them, just like I found his record, having been a city councilman or alderman in Madison, and the county supervisor in Dane County. He did his thesis at at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Makes more sense, right? In 1980. The subject was, one second, enhancing the persuasiveness of television advertisements via the transfer of residual arousal from prior programming. So, does that sound like something that has to do with this? Maybe. So this is a timeline. You can go through it. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. From November 8th, 2016, where he was quoted in BuzzFeed talking about this, and BuzzFeed actually said, but as of now, neither Mattis nor BuzzFeed News have unearthed any evidence that links the spammers to a coordinated campaign to suppress Clinton votes. Now, I mean, some of you might hate BuzzFeed, but to their credit, they put I think it's a worthy disclaimer, and so far I haven't seen any more evidence of this. Next exposure was in The New Yorker, where he was featured by David Remnick. David Remnick, not a fan of Bernie Sanders. He was a pro-Iraq war liberal, but he used some of the blurbs from John Mattis to talk about Russian collusion. And then you can see a number of other ones. Huffington Post is the most important one, from Ryan Grimm, featuring a certain activist named Aletta Pierce. And Aletta Pierce has been in contact with me, and she says that, this is very important, she says that the story about her role and what happened with the campaign that Mattis is peddling is false. It's nonsense. It's complete bullshit. She says that he doesn't know what he's talking about, or that he might even be a plant for the David Brock campaign. I've contacted some people about this. I've contacted several media outlets, but you guys have to help me too. Daily Caller, Breitbart, whoever it is. Or if you're a progressive, go ahead, call. I mean, don't call TYT, but you can probably find from Tim Black, H.A. Goodman. H.A. Goodman especially would be interested in this. I've tried to contact him. No response yet. Never ever responds to me for some reason. Lennon McCarthy, I need you to help me with this too. I mean, you've always been a good help to me. This needs to be exposed, and there are the people who are willing to expose it if we can get their attention. So some question marks. Some of these publications, like the Inquisitor, have questionable value as fake news or not fake news. Okay, so maybe Inquisitor, not so bad. What about this one, Exit from Albania? He features this on his site. This is from Mattis's website. Let me see here. 1 second, I'll pull it up. So you don't think I'm just pulling this out of nowhere. Okay, I pulled all these articles and put them in chronological order like a normal person. From here, this is from his website. I've basically put it in order. I've actually done better work on his journalism than he did, to be honest with you, because I mean, what did he didn't write the Huffington Post piece. He just shared a couple of a couple of bits of nonsense with Ryan Grimm, who ate it hook, line, and sinker, and there's no substantiation of it, and nobody actually will back up his account of what happened with the Bernie Sanders campaign. He's basically, if he were to go to those people today, he's more than made himself a pariah. He's actually now campaigning around the county with his story to a lot of basically some disaffected, or not disaffected, but like loyal, staunch Hillary people. The Hillcrest Democratic Club, or the Uptown Democratic Club in San Francisco. San Diego, sorry. Then another piece that he features is from the Daily Coast blogs. Okay, we'll open that one up. This one was a little interesting. It was basically just a rehashing of the first 3 or 4 paragraphs of the Huffington Post piece by a guy. Okay, this you guys, I think you guys believe me, but let me just reiterate this. The person who posted this has never made another post in the history of the Daily Coast, which, by the way, if you're going to share anything from the Daily Coast, you have to remember. So here you go. Diaries published 1. Comments posted 46. That's it. This is not a journalist. This is not a journalist. This is a guy who posted part of the Huffington Post article. And that's who Mattis is relying on as one of the examples of him in the news. Right? Does anybody think that's not a little fucked up? Okay, this is why I'm telling you, you have to spread it. You have to spread it. If you're not spreading it, you're not helping. And if you want to do something, you might as well help. I like to troll too. I like to shitpost people, but I want to do something. I think if I found something, I need it to get out there. I'm sorry if I'm frustrated, but it's just been really, I look at some of the other stuff that's getting attention, from the Kumite and the Worski, which is fine, but it's not really going to lead anywhere. Nobody's ever going to get a change in their life or a change in society from Worski's, his rant on YouTube. Okay, with all due respect to him, good for him for his idea, and God willing, he'll continue for a long time to do it. But it's not going to change a lot of people's minds and about the internet. In fact, to some extent, it just gets people pitted against each other. But again, so here to our subject at hand, Vermont Conversation, March 17th. This was kind of a podcast formatted radio show on WDEV-AM, and both Ryan Grimm and John Mattis talked with the host a little about his baseless story about Russian hacking. And they fell for it hook, line, and sinker in Bernie's home state. So look, they're going around, they're peddling their bullshit story all around the country, and to anyone who will listen, community radio in Vermont. Come on. I mean, where look, okay, so I think that they should have. I think a lot of people who read the Mr. Grimm's story based on Mattis's statements, they really should have looked a little harder. Just a little harder. I'm sorry if I'm just being like really, cynical and overly inquisitory over this. I don't know if that's even a word, but the fact that they believe this garbage is breathtaking. So then, of course, there's the Rachel Maddow show. We covered that a previous time. You can go back. March 22nd, San Diego Free Press. This was basically a promotional piece. So remember, it's understandable that this guy would promote his appearance on Rachel Maddow. Of course, that's national media. Fine, go ahead. Even though you and me might not like her show, it makes sense that somebody would promote his appearance on Rachel Maddow's show. Correct? So, you guys have to remember that she is probably the biggest fish in this scandal, and that's why you have to continue to persist and spread the story if you can. You know, so the San Diego Free Press was basically promoting his appearance, John Mattis's appearance for Democrats for Equality. By the way, everything's linked here. You can go on, you can see this. It's not like it's opaque. You can see everything that Mattis shared from his media appearances, and it's pretty obvious that he'll take publicity from anywhere. San Diego Free Press is basically kind of like an alternative paper, similar. I don't know if any of you live in Baltimore. They have the Baltimore City paper, or there's a Seattle Stranger. Here we have the Cleveland Scene, which is crap. I could probably write circles around those idiots. They've featured articles that are focused on the Cleveland Browns from 3 years ago, when nothing has changed for the better. It's just the same crap, but they're talking about the crap that happened 3 years ago and not the crap that happened today. And then there's the OB Rag, which is from Ocean Beach, which is basically almost a copy of the San Diego Free Press article. So he has two local papers from March 22nd, featuring basically just a promotion of his appearance at Democrats for Equality, which was just a smaller San Diego area Democratic group. Then there's this one. It includes a video, Times of San Diego, on YouTube. And he went and appeared at the Hillcrest Uptown Democratic Club, which is it's in a gay neighborhood. I'm not putting it down that that's actually a gay neighborhood. I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there. It's Hillcrest is kind of like the LGBT center of San Diego. I saw a couple mentions of that. I think, and Mattis actually shared it on his Facebook page, which we're not going to show because that might be a little step too far. Then there's East County Magazine, also a very minor paper in eastern San Diego County. And this is the guy who criticizes all the time, people for misspellings and whatever. Misspellings, poor grammar, not very faulty handling of the English language and writing. East County Magazine actually, by mistake, called BuzzFeed BuzzFlash. Look at the quality that Mattis is featuring on his site. Okay, so this is the body of what we're talking about right now. Then another one, to Political Haze, which is a paper that looks to, or not a paper, but like an internet blog that looks to be defunct. And they include even fake news articles about Donald Trump Jr. peeing on himself when his dad yells at him. Okay, so he's really looking for the quality articles and publications. Then another one from Huffington Post talking about the Albanian fake news sites that were closing down. Now, I'm not disputing that there might have been some Albanian fake news sites. They existed. That's not the issue. The issue is that almost nobody that I've ever talked to has actually read anything by those sites, and most of them say, well, we didn't give a shit. We weren't going to vote for Hillary Clinton anyway. What does Beans.com have to do with that? Then there's U.S. News and World Report. That's a major media outlet, and they were trying to make the claim, based on Mattis's statements, that the Russians were trying to get people to not vote for Clinton, but to support Jill Stein, and therefore throw Michigan to Trump. Now, yes, in Michigan, Stein did earn enough votes to possibly throw the election to Trump. I think she earned. I even have it here, 51,000 votes, which was within the margin of victory for Trump. I think he won it by 10,000 votes or something. But Gary Johnson also won 3.6%. That's 172,000 votes, and nobody's complaining because he probably took a lot of those votes from Trump. A lot of people who did not want to vote for Trump voted for Gary Johnson, or for another third-party candidate, Darrell Castle, or for the CIA candidate Evan McMunkey. So then there's the Guardian and Raw Story. They basically rehash the Christopher Steele dossier, and it includes a quote from Mattis saying that he thought that what he was reading on those sites matched what was going on in the Steele dossier. So that's very interesting. The Steele dossier, which is largely now considered to be basically complete crap by almost anybody who is not brain damaged. Yeah, that was the inspiration for John Mattis. A dossier where Trump is getting pissed on by a bunch of, or he's not even getting pissed on. The hookers are pissing on each other, right? So that's who he's saying. Oh yeah, it matched up those two. Well, I mean, so fiction matches with fiction. Very nice. But I mean, I've had a theory. What do you guys think? I've always said that Avatar, the plot from Avatar, is stolen from Fern Gully. Conspiracy, man. So next one, Uzaj.com, UZOJ. Another beauty. This is, let me open this window here, and you tell me how much value this this site lends to your story. This is basically in French, and it's telling you a study. I know a little French, a little French, a study about talc and kaolin calcium. And then another one about the Samsung 360, and that's about it. Everything else, hair articles and perfume, and yeah, that's really that. There's a feather in your cap, John Mattis. There you go. Yeah, Hamilton, you might want to see Fern Gully. It's pretty good. But after you share my article, Fern Gully, baby. Share it with everybody. Please try to share it. Make an email and share it with 5 people. That's all I'm asking. It took a lot of work to do this, and it's going to take a lot more work to keep it going, because there's more to look at, and it really is. It's very time consuming, and it's important to get it right. It's important to get the details in there, because then if you have the details in there, it's easier to point people to something when they doubt you. Then there's the Reverb Press, which is kind of just a rehash of the Guardian article, and there's really not much to talk about, even though Snopes says that Reverb is kind of both biased, and this is Snopes. They say that Reverb isn't really reliable, and that's, Snopes isn't by any means. When Snopes says that you're not reliable journalism and you're a left-wing publication, you must have some sort of problem. Then there's Rejuvenation Media, which is largely a lifestyle magazine. Let's pull that one up. So that's a little more. They do have news, but I looked up their Alexa ranking, and they also have horrible English. So John Mattis, who ran the San Diego's Bernie Sanders page, said he saw a shift coming from familiar local commenters to newcomers, some with European names, including 4 different accounts using the name Oliver Meathoff. Those who voted for Bernie will not vote for corrupt Hillary, one of the Meathoffs wrote on October 7th. The revolution must continue, never Hillary. While he was concerned about being seen as a crazy cold warrior, Mr. Mattis said he came to believe in which Russia was the likely source of the anti-Clinton comments. Okay, so in which Russia was, I don't know what that means. The magnitude as well as viciousness of nothing, then capitalized T, this kind of, I could suggest, in which their fingerprints were on, this kind of, as well as no one else had, in which agenda. He said, look through that paragraph. It's bizarre. It is bizarre. And I actually have it up on the article. Okay, so take a look. And then another one, and another one that look, I'm not going to be arrogant. I don't have a lot of followers either, okay? But I have more followers than The Last Men and Overmen, which is it's an article with here it is. Okay, so this is by a candidate named Mike Sachs, who's running for the 2nd District of Congress in New York, which is I think it's in Long Island. I looked, and this guy, all he does is just you know, babble about nothing. Very weird layout here. And here he says, what's striking are the comments of John Mattis, who was helping run Bernie's outline campaign. I don't know what the hell that means, outline campaign. But he wasn't running his outline campaign. So that's a false statement because there's no evidence of it. He was informally tied to the campaign as a sort of a volunteer. A huge wave of fake news stories originating from Eastern Europe began washing over the presidential election months earlier. At the height of the primary campaign, John Mattis, who was helping run the outline campaign for the Democratic candidate Bernie Sanders from San Diego, said it really took off in March 2016. So this looks like it came from, let me see here. Yeah, he just linked from the Guardian. So basically, this is live. This is basically John Mattis featured a blog by a congressional candidate that linked to another article from the Guardian that he'd already featured. So oh nice. So you know, it's like somebody, let's say if you had Mark McGwire, who has a World Series trophy, he had a home run king trophy, and he talks about his Little League World Series ring or whatever, or trophy. That's the, I mean, what value did that possibly offer? The Last Man and Overman.com. That's the name of that post. By the way, the title comes from Nietzsche, which is, you know, I looked that up. I was like, what the hell does it even mean? The Last Men and Overmen. It means like the last men are like kind of zombies that wander around with no aim in life. And the Overmen is the superhuman, the Übermensch in Deutsch. He's talking about creating the superhuman. He's running for Congress in New York's 2nd District, Democrat. Yeah. Try to find him, though. That's about the only place you'll find him. Then September 6th, Newsweek, which really, I don't know why he featured it, because it kind of disproved the Steele dossier and featured a little of Mattis's comments from the Guardian article. And then there's the New York Times, which is largely the same thing on September 7th. So these two large publications. Newsweek is, by the way, falling apart anyway. So I don't even know. Pretty soon, Newsweek is going to be completely in the dumpster. Nobody's going to care about them anyway. You know, they might be, you know, owned by the guy from The Last Man and Overmen.com, like Sachs. But yeah, this is complete bullshit. I have a summary. There's 5 legacy establishment media outlets that he featured, 5 mainstream liberal internet news or blogs, but that's if you include the blog post from the Daily Kos. So there's 5 of those, 5 local metro-oriented or alternative media. That includes the Vermont one, but it also includes like the Ocean Bay Rag, the San Diego Free Press, the Times of San Diego, and East County magazines. So, you know, woohoo for him. And then another 5 publications that are either, you know, alternative, foreign, or fake, which are uzaj.com and exit, I guess, is translated from Albanian, by the way. So it's all bullshit. Then there's another guy I found. His name is Matthew Smolon. He looks a little more consistent and his tracks aren't as obvious, but it looks like he joined a Tennessee Bernie group. This is also from Ryan Grimm's article. And he mentions seeing the same thing with people joining that were sharing fake news links. But The thing is that Matthew Smolon only joined the earliest entry in his group was from June 2016. Sorry, June 2016. June 17th, 2016, he starts posting and shooting down articles that he says are fake within this group, which is Bernie Believers. You can look it up. And then 3 days later, you never see him again on that group. But he appears in the article by Ryan Grimm and Jason Cherkis, which features John Mattis. So essentially, you have this guy. He's on this group for 4 days. He starts saying, "Oh, it was flooded with people." Well, I mean, I didn't see any activity from you during the primary. In fact, I went back to his own personal page, and which I'm not going to share. And he didn't have any activity in March or February when there was a primary in Tennessee. So again, just like in the case of Mattis, where was the activity that he was doing on behalf of Bernie Sanders? It was supposed to be an online campaign, mainly online, sharing memes, going around recruiting people, crowdfunding. Crowdfunding was huge during the campaign. Let me see if I can find this guy. His name was, yeah. So everything he had was to act blue. Yep, and it all looks like it was from this year. So Act Blue, Democratic Congressional Committee, a lot of donations though. But let's see here. Excel, waiting for Excel, baby. Longer than I wanted it to. So nice one, Act Blue, BLEW. So guys, again, when you see anything that I share, you have to, well, not anything I share, but this stuff, yes, you have to share as much as you can, because honestly, it's not, damn it, tell me about subscription expired, motherfucker. I'll expire you. Comma separated variables. Yeah, everything that this guy shared, he didn't contribute a fucking cent to Bernie Sanders, and neither did I. But hey Eric, I need your help. How's that for a hello, Eric? I need your help. So this guy, Matthew what's his name again? Smolin, who's in the article. He claims he saw the same thing. He saw, oh my God, there were trolls in my Bernie group. Bernie or Bust. No, it's called Bernie Believers. Well, you joined in June, so or apparently your first activity in the group is in June, on June 17th, 2016, 3 days after Bernie Sanders, officially the race is over. He technically withdraws, doesn't endorse Hillary Clinton until July, but the race is over. There's no race left to win. And he joins and starts saying, oh, fucking fake news here. You guys have to crack down on the fake news. It's all to get you to vote against Hillary or whatever. 3 days later, he's out of the group, got kicked out. This is the guy you're going to rely on? This is the guy? So that's the next one. We're going to dig this guy out and expose him. By the way, this guy actually works in media now. So more on him next time. Then there's another person who's more credible. Seems to have been a bona fide. First of all, he did work for Bernie Sanders. His name was Keegan Godis, who they did quote, and he gave a little more of a technical overview of how the trolling could have happened. So that's it. So I need you guys to understand this. This is the most important story I've worked on yet. I don't have anything that I can. I mean, Farrakhan feminism is the funnest story I've worked on because those videos are pretty great. I mean, you guys have to admit, when you watch Louis Farrakhan at his best, it's truly a treat. Even if he does hate you, which in my case he does, but style points. Let's call it that. But this story, people actually are, they're up in, they're throwing their hands up. They're like, why doesn't anybody believe us? They're believing this guy, John Mattis, who's claiming that, our campaign was hacked by Macedonians and Russians. It doesn't make any sense. You guys know the truth. Eric knows the truth. Lennon McCarthy knows the truth. Hamilton knows the truth. You all know the truth. So the article's in the links below, in the description. Let me see if I get doesn't matter. In the description below. Okay, this is not me pointing at my crotch. It's pointing at the description. You have to share as many of those links as you can. Some of them are to an interview. The top link is to the article, and just help me. It's all about that, because if this story gets stuck at bold like a leopard, well, I mean, nobody's going to give a shit, because bold like a leopard means something to me. But if it appears on Daily Caller, if it appears on Breitbart, if it appeared on Intercept, which it won't, because Ryan Grimm works for the Intercept, but let's say it worked for a progressive publication on their side, it would make a significant difference. I contacted Caitlin Johnstone about it, and she is aware, because those people contacted her. She is aware of what went on, and these people need to lend a hand and get this out there and expose this fucker, and possibly a second person. Looking very suspicious, this guy in Tennessee. So that's about it. I will talk to you guys later. Went on a little longer than I wanted to, but look, all the knowledge that you need is in this article. It's in the previous article. It's in that interview. We're going to get more of it. I'm already on Steemit, T. Hamilton. In fact, I'll share my Steemit link, because you guys can just go to my Steemit and vote for it. And why not? Here you go. It's on Steemit. So you can go on there, upvote it, share it, or re-steam it. That's what they call it on Steemit. And that's what has to happen. You have to have people start to look at it and really, start to contact people from those media outlets and start to ask them, I mean, did you ever vet this guy? Did you ever figure out what he was talking about? Did he bring you physical or I wouldn't say physical, but visual evidence of what he was talking about? Because everything that Rachel Maddow featured was the names of people on screen, and who found those names? Well, I found those names, and those were real people. They weren't Albanians or Macedonians or Russians. So you guys have to, and thank you, Tom Hamilton. I don't know if his name is Tom. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Sorry about that, but he said he re-steamed. Yeah, look at the Steemit link. You can re-steam it there. Steemit is fantastic, by the way. Share the other article. By re-steaming it, by the way, you share the article anyway, because the article is on the Steemit. So I can't thank you guys enough that are helping me. Can you help a little more? Absolutely. You have to contact a journalist that you think is trustworthy. Molyneux, Paul Joseph Watson, H.A. Goodman, Tim Black, Tim Poole, who I've contacted several times already, haven't received a response. You know, I've also tried contacting people who've had contact with Mattis, and I haven't received a response from them. But you know, this is a real job. What I did on this article, and whatever anybody, thank you, Eric, whatever anybody can do to help is, you know, more than you know, a blessing for me. It's actually a lot of help for people who were mentioned in this, and you know, we'll see where it goes from here. There's definitely more to go on, and this isn't the only thing I'm working on. There's something up north that I'm working on that we're going to be probably working on next week with a friend of mine who I've created with, that some of you will find interesting. But that's all. I'm not going to keep you guys here. Have a great evening. Subscribe, share, comment, like. Later.